This superhero could teleport across the galaxy, but couldn't walk across a room. Another rode a neon motorcycle so fast, it made Knight Rider look slow. From space rock stars to one-season wonders, these are the 10 forgotten 1980s superheroes that impacted a generation. First up at number 10, Ottoman, 1983. Back in the early 80s, when most people thought digital meant a fancy wristwatch, Ottoman hit the screen glowing like a human screensaver, literally. He was a walking, talking light show, part superhero, part computer program, all 80s cool. Designed by a desk-bound tech nerd named Walter Nebusher, Ottoman wasn't just software. His suit looked like something beamed in straight from an arcade game, with grid lines that shimmered like neon wireframes. His face, pure blue glow. And if that wasn't enough to fry your pre-internet brain, he had a sidekick named Cursor, basically a blinking dot that could draw things into existence. 1 second there's nothing, the next you've got a Lamborghini, a helicopter, or whatever the plot needed that week. And the autocar? It didn't turn, it pivoted, like full speed, right angle corners with no slowdown. Every kid watching wanted to try that in their parents' station wagon. It was flashy, it was weird, and it was wildly ahead of its time. The show only lasted 13 episodes, mostly because all those glow effects cost a fortune in 80s money. But even with its short run, Ottoman left a permanent imprint on kids who dreamed you could code your own hero one day. Number 9. Frogman. Marvel, 1982. Okay, not every superhero has to brood in the shadows or look cool landing in slow motion. Some just show up in a squeaky frog suit and hope for the best. That's Frogman. Real name? Eugene Patilio. His dad used to be a goofy low-level villain named Leapfrog, which, let's be honest, isn't the most terrifying name to begin with. But Eugene didn't care. He found the suit, dusted it off, and decided he was going to be the good guy in the family. Now, Eugene didn't have any powers. No laser eyes, no training montage, just springs in his boots and a dream. And those springs? They caused more chaos than crime fighting. He'd launch into the sky all dramatic and heroic, and then crash into a billboard, or a tree, or the ground, hard. But every now and then, by sheer luck or total accident, he'd actually save the day. One time, he knocked out a villain just by falling on them. Another time, he bounced into a control panel and shut down a whole evil operation. Total flukes. And somehow, that made it better, because Frogman wasn't pretending to be anything more than what he was, a dorky kid who wanted to help. Number 8. The Greatest American Hero, 1981 to 1983. Meet Ralph Hinckley, the only guy to get a full-on superhero upgrade and immediately misplace the instructions. Seriously. 1 minute, he's a regular school teacher on a field trip. The next, he's handed a magical alien suit with crazy powers, super strength, flight, bulletproof spandex, the works. And then, boom, manual's gone. Poof. No idea how anything works. So instead of soaring through the sky like Superman, Ralph faceplants into buildings, spins out midair, and causes more damage than the actual bad guys. But that's what made the Greatest American Hero so lovable. Ralph wasn't a trained warrior or some billionaire in a cave lab. He was just a guy with messy hair and mild panic attacks trying to do the superhero thing, without any clue how. Then there was Bill, his grumpy FBI sidekick, who clearly missed the memo that this wasn't a buddy cop show. The two of them arguing through every mission made the chaos even better. It was part superhero spoof, part heartfelt sitcom, and somehow it worked. The theme song, believe it or not, an actual #1 hit on the Billboard charts. Yeah, that happened, because even if Ralph couldn't stick a landing to save his life, he stuck in everyone's memory. Number 7. Puma, Marvel, 1984. Puma wasn't your average comic book superhero. He didn't fall into a vat of chemicals. He didn't get bit by anything radioactive. He was basically bred to be awesome. No, really. His tribe spent generations planning the perfect warrior, and Thomas Fireheart was the final result. Half man, half mountain lion, and fully ready to claw his way through a fight. But here's where it gets weird, in the best way. Puma didn't always play nice. 1 week he'd be hunting Spider-Man for cash, and the next he'd be saving lives like nothing happened. He wasn't good, he wasn't bad, he just did whatever felt right. And somehow, it worked. Oh, and when he wasn't leaping across rooftops or throwing villains through walls, he was running a massive company, like full boardroom, stock market, press conference kind of stuff. Marvel never really figured out what box to put him in, so he kind of just did his own thing, but that's what made him cool. He was unpredictable. He was wild. He didn't stick around long, but when he showed up, you paid attention. Because you never knew if he was there to help, fight, or just make everyone nervous. And honestly, that made him unforgettable. Number 6. Misfits of Science, 1885 to 1886. Before superhero squads got all cinematic and brooding, there was this wild bunch zipping around in a van like a science fair gone rogue. Misfits of Science was chaotic, cheesy, and somehow kind of perfect. It followed a crew of powered-up oddballs who didn't exactly have the Avengers' precision, but definitely had their own style. You had Dr. Billy Hayes, a high-energy scientist who basically collected weird people with powers the way others collect stamps. His big plan? Toss them all together and hope they save the day without blowing up the building. The team? Absolute madness. There was Johnny B, an electric rock star with lightning hands and the hairstyle of someone who's seen Bon Jovi live. Twice. Then Gloria, a moody teen who could move stuff with her mind and looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. And don't forget the girl who could shrink down small enough to fit inside a cereal box. Or L, the guy from the 60s who got frozen and woke up wondering what a Walkman was. The whole show felt like someone dared NBC to make the weirdest superhero show they could, and they said, bet. Episodes were loud, messy, and completely unpredictable. But that was the charm. It didn't take itself too seriously, and that made it kind of brilliant. It only lasted one season, but it hit different. It wasn't about perfect powers or epic battles. It was about weird people trying to figure stuff out and maybe save the world along the way. And if you were a kid who felt a little out of place, Misfits of Science made it clear you didn't need to fit in to be a hero. Number 5. JackoLantern, Marvel, 1981. If Halloween had a spokesperson in the Marvel universe, it'd be JackoLantern. Not because he was spooky in a deep existential way, but because he literally wore a flaming pumpkin on his head and threw bombs for fun. Subtle? Not even a little. But unforgettable? Absolutely. JackoLantern wasn't trying to be complicated. He didn't have a tragic backstory that made you question your morals. He just wanted to cause chaos and look cool doing it. His real name was Jason Maxendale Jr., and before he started dressing like the scariest part of your trick-or-treat route, he was a trained CIA agent with a serious need to blow off steam and buildings. His gear was wild: hover discs, hallucinogenic gas, razor-edged bats. If it exploded, smoked, or terrified someone, Jack had it in his arsenal. But here's the thing, no matter how flashy his entrance, he was always punching above his weight. This guy was trying to make a name for himself in a world filled with space gods, time travelers, and symbiotes from another planet. So what did he do? Tried to level up by becoming the new Hobgoblin? He ditched the pumpkin, slapped on a new name, and hoped people would forget where he started. Spoiler, they didn't. Eventually, the JackoLantern identity became like a cursed costume. Different people kept picking it up, each one more unhinged than the last. But even as the stories faded, the image stuck. That flaming grin floating in the dark, chasing down Spider-Man. It was nightmare fuel for any kid flipping through a comic rack in the 80s. Number 4. Llaya Cheney, Marvel, 1984. If the X-Men ever needed a rock concert and a spaceship at the same time, Llaya Cheney was their girl. She wasn't just another mutant with powers, she was a full-blown rock star who could teleport across galaxies. Literally. One second she's shredding a guitar solo on Earth, the next she's performing for aliens light years away like it's just another Thursday night. Llaya didn't hang around school lockers or sulk in the shadows. She wore leather, rocked purple hair, and owned the stage like she was born to headline. But don't let the glam fool you. Her powers weren't made for quick escapes or flashy fights. She could only teleport massive distances. Her intro was wild, plotting to sell Earth to a bunch of space criminals. Yeah, not the greatest first impression, but she cleaned up her act, got tight with the New Mutants, and somehow became the unpredictable friend who'd show up out of nowhere and save the day with an alien guitar riff and a wink. Llaya never really stuck around. She'd pop into the Marvel universe like a comet, bright, loud, impossible to ignore, and then vanish back into the stars. And honestly, that was the magic. She didn't need her name on a comic cover to leave a mark. All Llaya had to do was drop the beat, kick open a wormhole, and remind everyone that being a mutant could still be fun. Number 3, Demolition Man, Marvel, 1985. He didn't have billionaire gadgets or a cool backstory. Honestly, Demolition Man looked like he stitched his costume together after hitting the gym and a garage sale in the same afternoon, but that didn't stop Dennis Dunphy from trying to be a hero. The guy went from pro wrestling matches to street-level crime fighting with nothing but some borrowed strength and a big heart. He wasn't out to be famous. He wasn't chasing headlines. He just wanted to help. And when Captain America needed backup, D-Man was there, not because he was the best fighter, but because he cared. He stuck around when things got rough. He fought through panic attacks. He kept going after losing his home. At one point, he was literally homeless, living underground, helping people others pretended didn't exist. While flashier heroes were punching aliens in the sky, D-Man was checking on folks sleeping in subway tunnels. No awards, no fancy press conferences, just quiet, relentless kindness. And yeah, most fans barely remember him, but to the ones who do, he mattered. Because sometimes the best heroes aren't the ones with the perfect origin or shiny armor. Sometimes they're the ones who just refuse to quit. Number 2. Dansen Macabre, Marvel 1983. You want forgotten? Try Dansen Macabre. Her name alone felt like something out of a gothic ballet, and her powers, they were even stranger. This villainous turned occasional anti-hero had the ability to hypnotize or kill anyone who watched her dance. That's it. That's the whole power. A stage performer by trade and a cult member by affiliation, she was like a B-movie version of Poison Ivy crossed with a Vegas showgirl. She had martial arts skills, sure, but those only went so far. Once you stopped looking at her hips, the spell broke. Dansen showed up in a handful of comics during the 80s, mostly sparring with Spider-Man or crossing paths with other street-level heroes. And despite the weirdness, there was something kind of unforgettable about her. She represented a different era of comic storytelling, when villains could be sultry, silly, and a little bit spooky. In a world now filled with multiverse-hopping gods and grimdark anti-heroes, Dansen Macabre is a reminder that sometimes a little mystery and a whole lot of flair goes a long way. She wasn't powerful, but she was mesmerizing, and in the right moment, that was enough. Finally, at number 1, Icarus, Marvel, 1984. Icarus was the quiet kid in a loud superhero family. While his siblings were out punching bad guys and blowing stuff up, Joshua Guthrie showed up with angel wings, a soft voice, and enough emotional depth to fill a Coldplay album. He wasn't the flashy one. He wasn't the tough one. But he had something none of them did. Soul. His powers were beautiful, not brutal. Wings that actually worked, a voice that could heal or calm you down mid-breakdown, and a vibe that said, "I'd rather write poetry than throw a punch." But life didn't go easy on him. After losing someone he loved, he spiraled, tried to cut off his wings, just wanted the pain to stop. That wasn't a typical superhero arc, it was raw and real. Joshua wasn't flying into war zones or standing on comic book covers with glowing eyes. He was showing up when people needed comfort, not chaos. When he sang, people listened. When he disappeared, you felt it. He didn't need a cape or a spotlight, he just needed space to feel. In a decade packed with muscle-bound mutants and never-ending fight scenes, Icarus reminded readers that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is just survive. And for anyone who's ever felt too quiet or too broken to matter, he showed that even the softest voices can leave a mark. These 10 superheroes may not have lasted long, but they showed us that impact isn't always about fame. Sometimes it's just about timing, heart, and a little bit of 1980s weirdness. Which one do you remember? Or maybe you forgot you remembered. Let us know in the comments below, and hit subscribe for more throwbacks just like this.